Very few actors have been in the film industry and made as much impact as the legendary Denzel Washington. For someone who has been in the movie industry for nearly 5 decades, seeing the changes in the movie industry today, where race and inclusivity now come before actual work and execution, is just sad. When it comes to the issue of race, a lot of big artists would prefer to stay silent or tilt towards a certain ideology. For someone like Denzel Washington, one of the biggest stars among persons of color, it would be expected that his opinion would patronize and pander to the ideologies of the woke community. But he has proven to not be a part of the woke culture of racial bias and division choosing, instead to be for the unity of the American people. Welcome again, guys, to this channel. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay updated. Let's get right into the video. Few actors can bring the stories of black people to life like Denzel Washington has for the past decades of his career. The star of the recent movie Fences remains a big name and an inspiration to millions of people around the world, and it is so humbling that his massive influence is not being used to foster hatred and division along racial lines. Like the patriot that he is, Denzel will use every opportunity he has to say what is right, not minding who is offended by this. He has spoken against woke culture, a culture that has divided the nation along sexual, marital, gender, and racial lines. Some of Denzel Washington's words along this line are quoted, "I don't care what the woke culture says. I'm going to continue to tell the truth. I'm going to continue to speak against injustice, and I'm not going to be silenced." Sometimes someone needs to speak up and tell these people to back off, and that we understand ourselves, especially among black people. Woke culture has constantly taught blacks to blindly demand inclusivity in Hollywood movie roles, and this has led to a lot of internal and external issues among directors and producers. In a particular interview, Denzel was questioned about the racial undertones in the allocation of movie roles in the film. Denzel Washington broke down why movie roles and movie direction have more race-based themes and have more to do with culture rather than color.
Could a white director not have
It's not
produced this
color,
work?
it's culture.
It's not essentially a color difference, it's a cultural difference. Our experiences, backgrounds, and norms differentiate us, rather than the color of our skin. And this diversity is beautiful. To keep being fixated on the past, and the difference solely based on the color of our skin, is one of the many ways that the woke media uses to divide the country. And Denzel is not having any of it, boldly saying what needs to be said, regardless of the consequences. Another person who has attacked the race division doctrine is Ben Shapiro, who has asserted that our differences don't come from the color of our skin. It's just mere pigmentation. Our true difference comes from the thousands and thousands of years of culture and customs, which, when we look at it from a positive perspective, should unite us in our diversity and not divide us. Our uniqueness comes from our unity in diversity and not from separation. We shouldn't be focused on our skin color. It's time we ditch all that and focus on virtue. This was the dream of the great Martin Luther King Jr., who only desired that the people of this great nation would be judged not by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character, and if we learned anything from our history, we must not deviate from this. It seems some people are hell-bent on dividing this country along racial lines through any means possible, especially with the woke culture. Movie roles and movie stories are now dictated by these people. No wonder Sylvester Stallone spoke out against them. "No one has the right to dictate who and who doesn't get on my set," he once said. Directors and producers should be given freedom in their creativity. Demanding for inclusivity in all movies and of all groups in the woke army is simply suffocating and annoying. Thank God a lot of producers and actors are pushing back. Denzel Washington attacked this idea of black inclusivity in roles by giving a simple explanation. He pointed out that when it comes to movie roles, there is a possibility that an actor just wasn't good enough, and pointing out that they lost a role just because of racial discrimination can be dangerous and misleading. It doesn't have to be because they were black or white. Maybe the actor wasn't given that role because they were not good enough. But the woke culture teaches us to turn a blind eye to these possibilities and demand inclusivity along racial lines. This could reduce the quality of movies we produce if our actors are not allowed to work on themselves and develop their craft just because we want to please a band of people. It is this same mindset that attacks comedians who make jokes along racial lines. This is not supposed to be. We live in a world today where anyone can be canceled or at risk of losing his career for making an offensive joke. Where is the freedom of speech that we once boasted of as a nation? I'm glad someone like Denzel is speaking out against this, and for someone like this who has been in the game for over 40 years, he sure knows what he is talking about. Another important thing about this call for inclusivity is the dictation of the message a movie is supposed to pass across. The woke media also seeks to control and command what gets said and what doesn't, and this will only do more harm than good. It seems the woke culture believes that roles are meant to tell stories and pass messages to always uplift and make the black community look good. And although there is nothing wrong with that, it should be understood that telling a story is not always meant to make everyone look good. It should be okay to show that we too are flawed or vulnerable, and tell that in our movies and films. This is why the instruments of humor and comedy are important. We should be able to laugh about our flaws and have them said to our faces instead of being sensitive to every word said and every tweet made. That's sadly where we are now as a country. The woke army should stop causing division. People like Denzel Washington understand that when the flawed aspects of black culture are portrayed on our screens, we are to understand that it's also part of our story as a people. We are all human after all. Fiona Davis talked extensively about this issue alongside Denzel Washington in an interview, about the wig-removing scene which she demanded to be added, to show herself in that role in a different light. We are glad to know that everyone is not afraid of offending the woke community and telling the truth. If you've not subscribed at this point, please hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of our future videos. This country has had its fair share of racial injustice, and the black community has suffered the most in this shameful past of ours. But it's good to see stars from among them, like Denzel Washington, refusing to buy into a culture that would lead to further hate and division, instead choosing to see the bright future of unity and love and the spirit of freedom and democracy alive in all of us. I believe that with more people standing up for truth and for what is right, we will overcome this horde of suffocating censorship and threats to our democracy. This is also a call to all of us. We have to realize that we as humans are flawed, and we must begin to appreciate this and learn from our mistakes, so they're not repeated in the future. Because as the saying goes, those who fail to learn from history are doomed to repeat it. Thanks so much for watching, and see you in the next video.